If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I covered this on my website yesterday, so if you want the full-on experience with how I feel about it, you could check out my website at callforanuprising.com. But I have to make mention of it here because look, I'm not a doctor, okay? I think that's clear. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to question any doctors because we're not allowed to. You can question the work of a gardener, a plumber, but not a doctor. They're in their own group by themselves. So I'm not going to question the doctors, and I'm not going to question the CDC, but I have to tell you this because, I don't want any of you who listen to my channel to be skeptical about getting the shot. I want you to get the information. So I'm going to give you information right from the horse's arse, okay? I mean mouth, which is the mainstream media. Now, we are about to have full-on approval here in America for the vax, which is going to save the world by the summer. Fauci says now summer. Normalcy maybe in the summer. 2 weeks ago, it was normalcy in 2022, excuse me. I mean, sure, whatever, right? We don't have to keep track of what they say. They could just say something different every day, and we go, oh, okay. No backtracking, no, but you said this, now you say that. Like the mask stuff with Fauci, remember? About why you don't need it. 2 weeks later, he says. Anyway, YouTube algorithm. In Australia, the vax was given out, and you aren't going to believe what type of side effects and what was happening and what test results were coming up of people who took it. Luckily, they were false positives. So I want to make it clear so people out there know they were false positives, not positives. That way they don't get nervous and use that as an excuse not to get treatment so we can end this pandemic. Listen to the insanity for yourself.
Australia's quest for a homegrown vaccine is tonight over. The trial terminated after participants falsely tested positive for HIV. Scientists at the University of Queensland are devastated, but accept public confidence in the vaccine process is paramount.
We have led the world in taming the virus, but in the battle to beat it forever, today we were forced to concede defeat.
It's certainly a tough day for the team.
The University of Queensland's mission to find a vaccine, in the end, scuttled by community fear.
And that's part of, or a big component of why we are pulling out now.
Several of the 200 participants in the trial returned blood tests that showed that they were HIV positive when they weren't. No one was at risk. The shadow of the Grim Reaper looms large.
But now we know every one of us could be devastated by it.
It was all the evidence would suggest it was going to be an effective vaccine, but we cannot risk public confidence.
Scientists used harmless HIV proteins to stabilise the COVID vaccine, but it appears the body started making antibodies for HIV as well, which was providing the false positive results.
As soon as they told me about the false positives, I thought, oh, that can't be good. I actually couldn't care less about a false positive. That's all it is. It's a false positive. There's no risk to my health.
And as the research team in Brisbane stepped aside to applause from colleagues, the Prime Minister and his health offsiders looked to Plan B.
Of the 4 vaccines that we did advanced purchases on, 2 are probably the most advanced in terms of phase 3 data.
Drug maker AstraZeneca, with the help of Oxford University, is now our biggest hope. It can be made in Australia by CSL. The government today upped its order to 50 million doses. It's also seeking another 11 million jabs from the US-based Novavax. Pfizer, which has already begun rolling out in the UK, remains our third choice.
And as the world eagerly awaits a panacea for this pandemic, the post-mortem has already begun into the University of Queensland's decision to use the HIV virus in its research.
An Adelaide vaccine scientist claims his warnings were ignored.
In the context of a pandemic where you can't afford to have hiccups, then our feeling was it was too experimental a technology to be rolled out.
If we could go back in time, we could have made changes.
Whichever vaccine becomes the silver bullet, it could be rolled out as early as February.
But hey, these are normal things, right? You would expect side effects. So if you go and you get your shot, look, you're going to have side effects. They've told us this already. And one of the side effects might be that you test positive for HIV. Don't panic. Don't worry. It's a false positive. You go and it says you're positive for HIV, and then they'll tell you it's a false positive. And then they'll wink right at you. So don't be afraid. I don't want anyone out there to be afraid. Now, here in America, obviously, different vaccines, right? And I'm sure there's going to be one universal one. One company will become the hero, probably Pfizer, who comes out and is the hero for it. But even here in America, they've been talking about the side effects. And I've covered this, right? Pain. You're going to go in. They're going to be feeling 100% when you go and get the shot. But you're going to, the next day and days after it, suffer from extreme fatigue. That's normal. Just remember that. So go in feeling good, come out feeling sick, but it's worth it so you don't get super, super sick in the long run, okay? Remember that. That's why it's important that people know this information so they don't get scared. And hey, you might end up with Bell's palsy, according to this doctor, which is like almost paralyzing or paralyzation of the face. Like you aren't able to move muscles in your face. You aren't able to like move your lips. You'd start talking differently. It's almost just like having a paralyzed face. Don't be nervous about that because according to this doctor too, I want to make sure you get the correct info from these doctors. That might not, there were 4 people who got Bell's palsy from the actual phase 2, the round 2 of the shots. But that could be from something else. They're going to monitor that in the long run. Don't you worry about it. Still get in line and go get it. So listen here for yourself, some of the things that might occur. Let's ease the nervousness, folks. Come on, stop being conspiracy nuts.
As promised today, the FDA released the data that will be used that is very central to that decision. And our Dr. Frank McGeorge has been digging through it. He's back with a closer look at a really important part of this, Doc, and that's the potential side effects that have turned up thus far.
Exactly, Kim and Devin. So most of the vaccines we get trigger a few minor side effects, from a sore arm to some fatigue or a fever. But Pfizer's data finds the vaccine did trigger some predictable side effects in most participants, and that is something people should definitely be prepared for. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site, particularly after the second dose of the vaccine. Nearly 78% of those age 18 to 55 reported pain after dose 2. 66% of participants over 55 experienced that symptom as well. About half reported the pain was mild. Redness and swelling were similar for both age groups, but they occurred in only about 4 to 7% of participants. In general, participants under 55 had more frequent and more severe side effects, especially after the second dose. In the younger age group after the second dose, 59% reported fatigue, nearly 52% experienced a headache, 37% reported muscle pain, and 35% had chills. Less common symptoms included fever, vomiting, diarrhea, or joint pain. In those over 55, after the second dose, over 50% reported fatigue, 39% suffered a headache, nearly 29% had muscle pain, and nearly 23% reported chills. In all ages, most of the symptoms occurred in the first day or two after receiving the vaccine, and most often lasted about a day. Swollen lymph nodes were also reported more often in people who received the vaccine compared to those who received the placebo. Now, there were 4 cases of Bell's palsy that occurred in the group that received the vaccine. Bell's palsy is a condition that causes temporary weakness or paralysis of certain muscles in the face. It is not clear that there is a connection to the vaccine, but the FDA will recommend surveillance for that side effect, in particular if the vaccine is authorized.
Now, Frank, this vaccine works very differently from, say, the flu vaccine, so I ask this question advisedly, knowing that they don't work the same way. But do we have any idea why those side effects come in that first day or two than we would typically see with, say, a flu shot?
Yeah, Devin. Well, it's thought to be from an immune inflammatory reaction to both the mRNA, that's the genetic material in the vaccine, as well as the lipid material that's used to get that genetic material into cells. This is, as you mentioned, a very different type of vaccine. So, of course, it's not surprising that we're seeing different reactions.
Would seem to be in store with that.
So what have we learned here today? We've learned that you're going to get sick. You're going to go in. You're going to feel fine. You're going to get sick. That's what they've told us. Just prepare for that, okay? Don't be nervous that you might get Bell's palsy. Do not be nervous of possibly testing positive for HIV, because that's a false positive. And we don't have to worry here in America, even though I know there's some people out in Australia probably listening to this channel. I do get messages from people in different countries. You're getting a different one than us. So that has been canceled. They've canceled that, even though it's a false positive, because they don't want people to be nervous. It didn't give anybody anything. They didn't get HIV, so don't think that this is some crazy kooky thing. These are all normal effects, right? These are all things you shouldn't be nervous about. That's why they tell us in advance. You know? You know what I mean? Testing positive for HIV, Bell's palsy. We've had people pass, supposedly. We've had lots of different stuff. So don't worry. You'll feel fine beforehand. You'll go in. You'll come home sick. This is all normal. Now let that register in your brain for a few minutes. Digest that. Ready? Come on. Let's all digest it. Okay. Right. And this is what they're telling us is normal. And we're supposed to comply. Okay. Well, thanks for letting us know in advance. It's greatly appreciated. Now the question is, how many people actually will still go through with it? And the scary answer is a lot. Why? Because they trust in Big Brother. They depend on Big Brother. They run and tattle to Big Brother, the Karens and so forth. Because Big Brother's all they've got. They need their diapers changed. The millennials, most of them, not those of you who follow this channel or any out there who are awake whether they follow the channel or not, a large portion need their diapers changed still. They need their hands held. They need to be coddled at all times, except when somebody disagrees with them. Then they want to take away their free speech or their right to speak. And half of these people are people who somehow think it's normal to convince yourself that you're a man, but you're not, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Don't want to hurt anyone's feelings here, because those are things that can easily be flagged here on YouTube, so you have to be careful. But don't be nervous, folks. Those are just things going on here. The CDC is, talking about wearing masks indoors, stuff like that, which I might cover today on the channel. I don't even know. It's just all just unbelievable. But don't be nervous. Line up. Stick your arm out. Get it. Okay? Don't be nervous. They don't want to hurt you. They want to end this so we could go back to normalcy. Don't you understand? Don't listen to the stuff that these conspiracy nuts say. Don't listen to the words of Bill Gates and Ted Turner and David Rockefeller and the Rothschilds. No, it's absurd. Out of their own mouths. The people even in control of the vax here, like Bill Gates. No, that's conspiracy hogwash, as they say in the UK. Hogwash. No. We need to end this, because too many people that we all know that are all around us, because we see this every day. We see people in our town. I mean, haven't you driven by your hospital recently? I drove by mine. It looked like a mall on Christmas. I mean, it was mobbed. I mean, you can't even get in there. If you get shot, you're not going to get taken care of either. So we have to get rid of this now, So don't worry about the HIV. Don't worry about Bell's palsy. You do you. Listen to the doctors. You know what I mean? Holy moly. Holy guacamole. I want to remind everyone to please check out the website at callforunuprising.com. I posted a video yesterday about that exact thing going on in Australia. And I'm going to be posting many more videos over there, because who knows how long we'll be here on YouTube. The crackdown is coming. They are going to, and I don't know why I would get cracked down on, because I mean, we all agree with the doctors, don't we? You see what I did there? Huh? I mean, really? So check out the website if you haven't. I want to thank the patrons. I want to thank all of you who support the channel. Share this information with your friends if they haven't heard about the news in Australia. And let them know not to worry. Because who would be worried about getting a positive result for HIV, right? Why worry about it? It's just a false one. Duh. Because you always test false positive for HIV. It's a normal thing. It's creating HIV antibodies, no big deal, right? Whew. The world in 2020, folks. The world in 2020. I thank everyone again for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.